Right, welcome to the Aviation Wealth Club. My PowerPoint and this Google Meet app don't work well together, so we're just going to stick to the Google Meet today. But welcome to the 32nd session, and today's date is the 21st of October. And congratulations on getting here and making sure that your business accelerates with the awesome content that we generate here for you, courtesy of Rob Yates, our elite performance coach. Okay, why doesn't anyone tell us? Well, let's start with a win. Who's got a win for the last couple of weeks? Although we know it's been a bit of a bad aviation week, have we got a win outside of that?
Well, I was in Margate to set up, our offices that side. So that's all in place. So we would have had our audit this week, but we've postponed it now. With all this what has happened, so to the 3rd of November. But we're ready to go there, and we got some nice traction and inquiries from the locals there. Keen and exciting. So at least, we're ready that side now to start our operations. But so it's not all bad. We've got something to look forward now, and just use this going forward. We learned lessons and use these lessons to make us better going forward.
Absolutely, Christoph, and congratulations getting that Margate office and all ready and ready for an audit is a huge achievement. So congrats. Very nice. Francois, how about you? What have you won at in the last couple of days?
David, yes, it's going well with our year. It's in full swing. It rained a little bit, so some of the guys are, we really, they're quite hectic now with the planting and everything. So it's going well with that. So we're looking forward to see how the year ends. But at this stage, just doing all the things we need to do.
Lovely. Voete voor, they say. Well done. Very nice. Rob, what have you won at?
I'm just busy. I've had a really bad, not bad. I've had a really hard, like the aviation industry, I've had a really hard last 7 days. So I'm actually just fishing for, I know I've won at some stuff. The things I think I've won at is I've built a new onboarding sequence for all my clients in Kingdompreneur. 30 days, a 2-minute email a day, and a 10-minute to-do, which I think is going to solve a lot of people's problems. I'm pretty pleased with that, and it's being tested at the moment, so that's really good. And that got finished on Friday. Saturday, I got to spend with Luke, my little 4-year-old boy, and we did boy things, which was a lot of fun. And then on Sunday, I was lucky enough to deliver the sermon in church on Sunday morning, which it happens on occasions, but very rarely. That was a real blessing. So I reckon those have been my main wins over the past week.
Nice. That's a huge amount of winning. Well done.
Thank you.
Congrats. My win for the week is that we've got a couple additional sponsors for the Cape Town Safety Symposium. Things are really shaping up beautifully there. A couple of good clients coming on board with Pilot Insure, and we are looking forward to a smooth end to the year. But I also look forward to a big push towards the end of the year to help us leap forward into next year. I think that's something that a lot of people forget to do, is that we know that January is often a slower month because everybody's busy with their New Year's resolutions and new things that they're trying and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's important, especially as a financial advisor and what we do in the advice space, is to get people to think about what they're doing next year, this year already. So we're going to be pushing a huge amount of content out and a bit of emails and that sort of stuff to remind people, hey, let's not wait until March or June or the next year to review your stuff. Let's have a look at what's going on so that we start next year with a bang. And only the positive kinds. So yeah, very nice, good stuff. Just a couple of events that are coming up. Again, it's the Safety Symposium on the 6th of November. We also had to cancel our rally that we were planning on Saturday, and that was due to the weather. And I can tell you, sorry, just a little bit of a tangent here, is that canceling events is a tough thing to do. You know, I don't know if you guys saw, but the Cape Town Marathon was cancelled over the weekend, and and everyone was disappointed and PO'd, and you know, obviously everybody's riled up and ready to race and all that kind of stuff. But I had to go through a similar decision, maybe not not the same kind of magnitude, but I had 20 aircraft ready to fly on Saturday morning in my rally. But on Friday afternoon, we were looking at the weather and it just wasn't coming right. And you know, I had to think, if I'm going to send 20 aircraft out on a route into the general flying area, and then all of a sudden Wonderboom Airport goes IMC, meaning that they can't return, all 20 of those aircraft need to find alternatives. They need to find, you know, Lanceria, Kitty Hawk, wherever they can land. And that can create a big scramble. So, you know, for safety reasons, we just said, nope, sorry, guys, we're not flying tomorrow. And the decision weighed on me a little bit, and because we actually had the mayor coming. The mayor of Pretoria was coming to help with the prize giving, and they were going to do an address, and it was like a big hoo-ha. And you know, you're disappointing so many people, but it's a call you have to make. And when I realized that, you know, you're never going to be popular with everybody if you make that kind of call. And when I realized that, and I wasn't, I was okay with not being popular amongst some of the people, but I knew that I was saving, you know, 20 or 30 lives, well, possibly, then I was much happier with that decision. So I'm just saying, like, I understand what it's like for the guys to cancel missions. And yeah. So I don't know where I was going with that, to be quite honest, but I just thought that it's maybe the lesson there is be comfortable with some of the decisions that might leave you less popular with some of the people. Maybe that's it. All right. Events that are coming up: Cape Town Safety Symposium, 6th of November, looking really, really good, and the Wonderboom Safety Symposium is on the 2nd of December. So yeah, that's it. Tell us, Francois, why did you show up today?
David, to grow my business and yeah, just to learn. You must never stop learning, eh?
That's right, and to see Rob's beautiful face.
It's not so beautiful today.
Rob's handsome mug, very nice. Absolutely, we've got to continue learning. You know, this is a continuous process. If we're not learning, we're stagnating, and stagnation always leads to some kind of regression. So yeah, nice one, good stuff. Tell us, Rob, what have you got for us today?
Well, I'm a little bit confused. I'm still sick, so I'm a bit all over the place. But I'd like us to have a conversation today and actually learn with each other about hiring more people in our businesses. You know, a definition of a business is only a business when it has employees, employees beyond us. And I've found that the more employees I employ, the more money I make, which is counterintuitive because you think they cost you money. And yet I know that so many of us are hesitant to employ people for all sorts of reasons. And so what I'd like to play around today is, well, what's the hesitancy and how can we see that in a different way? What's the opportunity with employing more people? And then I'd like to share with you the process that I'm using for Kingdompreneur now that's working incredibly well. And every time I've deviated from it this year so far, I've had to fire somebody. And well, I haven't had to, but I had to. I've made the choice at day 30 or day 60 of them working for me that they're not a good fit, and I've decided to do the thing I don't want to do now, rather than leave it for 12 months and then have the awkward conversation. And so I want us to have a chat, actually, David. That's the thing today, if that's all right with you.
100%. I think it fits in line with like just what you said now, is that every time you deviated from the plan that you'd had to make corrections that were negative. You had to get rid of somebody. So I think it sticks very much in line with sticking with the plan today.
Yeah, that's it. So maybe the starting point is I put the plan that I'm currently using up on the whiteboard, and you can all have it and learn from it, and then we can talk about it afterwards. Would that work for you?
Yes, definitely.
Anybody can disagree at any point in time, or just agree beyond David. The rest of you who are hiding, I know who you are. So let me spin this around. Oh, there's a light bulb in the way. Here we go. So the first thing is, I want to go and put this out, is I think we should be interviewing people 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, in the knowledge that they don't have to be wearing a shirt and tie and realize that we're interviewing them. So I'm just about to employ a full-time driver for myself, because like many of you, I spend ridiculously large amount of time behind the wheel of a car every week often, and that's time when I'm not actually getting stuff done. I can't do coaching sessions, I can't do work on my laptop, I can have bad phone calls with people as the signal comes and goes, and the guy I'm employing as my driver, he went to Selborne, which I think all three of you would know is, you know, one of South Africa's sort of top government boys' schools, Model C boys' schools. He was in the top 4 matriculants of his year 10 years ago. So super clever. And unfortunately, after he finished school, a family member died. He had to come to the valley beneath Hogsback, where I live here, which is in the middle of nowhere, and go to work to go and fund his family. He's a Christian, doesn't smoke or drink, plays rugby, goes to one of the local churches, and has a full driving license. Currently, he earns his money by selling firewood to people like me around Hogsback. Obviously in the winter months he sells a lot, and in the summer months he sells not a lot. But selling firewood that he harvests himself. If I'd have done any of the usual how to find an employee thing, you know, put out a advert or gone to a recruiter and with a whole bunch of stuff that you think you should put on there, like qualifications and experience and so on and so forth, I never would have found this guy. His name's Kanisa, and yet 10 to 12 grand a month for Kanisa is like a king's ransom for a full-time job, and he's going to get to drive one of 2 pretty much brand new cars permanently. Now, interestingly, when I have looked around for drivers, if you're a professional driver and you're going to drive for somebody, 10 to 12 grand a month before tax and everything else isn't actually enough money to pay somebody. There's a thought. And so I believe that we should be interviewing everybody we meet all of the time, from the firewood guy to the waiter to the car guard to the security person to the checkout lady at Food Lovers or Woolies, to anybody and everybody else we meet, including other people on this call. And that we should be interviewing with them with a mindset of, one day, would I like this person to work for me? You know, I think I said this the other week. David's on my list, by the way, of somebody I'd like to work for me one day. You know, I am building a bank at this point in time, and I will need Davids within the bank. How that works, whether he even says yes or not, doesn't really matter, right? But it's putting these people's names on the list. And we're going to come onto the list in a second, by the way. I'll stick that on the board. The thing that I've noticed is when somebody resigns from your business, it takes anywhere between 60 and 120 days or longer to get a new person into that person's job and get them doing it relatively competently. I think you've all probably experienced that in different ways. And so by having this list, and we'll talk about that in a second, it enables me that when somebody leaves, I can go straight to the list and already have, hopefully, somebody who I can fill a hole with. It also means that I get to build a relationship with people on my list over a period of time to check it, double check it, and treble check it. And so when I go to David with an offer for whatever it is that I think he should do within this bank that I'm building, I already know David's life context, wife, children, home. I know roughly what I'd have to offer him in terms of a package for him to say yes. I know that I definitely would like him to do it and that I'd enjoy spending the time with him, that he'd be good at the job. And I know all of these things that de-risk the hiring process. Because if you think about one of the blocks to hiring people, one of the blocks is, what if they rip me off? What if they're not trustworthy? What if they're not as competent as I think they are? What if they upset my customers? I mean, David, what other what ifs are there when it comes to hiring people?
Yeah, what if they can't do the job? What if they're not a good fit? What if they annoy the crap out of you? Which is a vital thing, that you're going to be spending time with this person, more time with this person than you are your own family. So they best be nice to be hung around with.
That's it. So the starting point is definitely a list. So let's go. So I think we should be doing this the whole time. What's interesting is when you do choose to do this the whole time, your business grows faster. So step one is my list. Things in my list are obvious. Just turn that up. Is name, mobile. But then I want to do like some notes on their character, future, where do I see them fitting, family, and finances. Right? And I keep this in a Google spreadsheet, and my list is currently about 200 people long, by the way, in terms of people on there. And I make it a job that I touch base with these people every 3 to 4 months and just stay front of mind, like build the relationship and stay so that I know them and they know me, and double check and build out more of these things as well. This solves most hiring problems for me. And interestingly, when I want to go and find somebody who's not on this list, I can often go to this list and say, who do you know? Right? Like, David's on my list, but I can't afford £1 million a month for him at this point in time to do what I want him to do. So, but I also, though, can go to David and go, hey, David, you like me and I like you. I'm looking for, do you happen to know somebody who could do this for me? Right? So that's another great use of having this list. We then come on to the, okay, so let's say we can find some people who we'd like to work, who we'd like to take through an interview process now. The traditional process of interviewing people, I think, is broken. You know, you put out an advert, they send you a letter and a resume. You've got to try and choose from those who it is you have a conversation with. You then have a weird conversation with them when you don't fully get them and they don't fully get you, and then you feel awkward about who you should employ or not. And often, just employ the person you like the most anyway. Right? So I've built a process for Kingdompreneur now that I found works really, really, really nicely. And so let's call this number 2 on our resources. So the first thing is I send out an email to my database. and to my list, right? Email or WhatsApp to this list and to my database with a do you know question. And so, do you know somebody who's recently graduated or just about to graduate university doing something like graphic design? Right? Do you know that a person like that? I keep it quite broad, but yet specific. So just about to or has graduated, and they're looking for their first job. Right? That could be a thing. Do you know for a graphic designer? Obviously, we're then going to get that. They're then going to get in touch, and they're going to send us like the usual stuff that they want to send, their CV and a letter normally, which is wonderful. In all honesty, I ignore those first two things, right? The CV and the letter. And what I do is I give them a task. Actually, I give them 3 to 4 tasks. Okay. These tasks I make relatively doable. I don't make them super easy, but it's probably about 30 minutes worth of tasks in total. But I make them quite easy. Like, could you plan a speaking trip for me? I've got to go and speak for Old Mutual in Cape Town on this Thursday lunchtime at 2 p.m. I live here. I need to get there, stay somewhere, etc. Want to take some clients out for dinner. Can you build my trip for me and get me back home? Right? As was a task. One of the tasks that I gave to this, I'm employing an executive assistant at the moment. I gave out to those people. What I'm looking for with the 3 or 4 tasks is not just are they capable of doing the 3 or 4 tasks, right? They should be. It's actually what I'm looking for is the extra mile that they go to within the 3 or 4 tasks. So do they do a bare minimum, or do they go further, right? Because for me, the extra mile is what I'm looking for in an employee, right? It's somebody who's going to do more. They're going to spot problems. They're going to go, well, what about this? Do you need a? Can I arrange this for you? You know, I think you might need this. So here's 2 quotes in case you do. It's the person who's going to do what's after them and extra. And these tasks get me to see who those people are. And let's be honest about it, if somebody can't work their socks off to impress you here, they're going to be a terrible employee. I also look at these tasks for honesty. So I've got a lady who I think is going to be my executive assistant, although I haven't done the final step of this process yet. But I think I know who she is. And I asked my executive assistant as well, could you do a quick Instagram post for me for Kingdompreneur? Or the whole graphic design team is off with COVID, and we quickly need to stick something up. Can you quickly make one in Canva for me? And she came back to me and said, here's 3 versions of what I've got for you. I'm ever so sorry. I've never used Canva before. I've tried my best. Next time I do it better like this. But I've never used Canva before. I'm sorry, I'm completely unfamiliar with it. Now, I really like that because there's a level of honesty in that I really like. You know, she'd be keen to learn more. And so you can start to see who this person is really outside of the lies of their CV and their letter and everything else, just in the way they engage.
It's almost like that CV's like a Facebook post, or an Instagram post of their life. You know, they're only going to show you the good stuff.
That's it. So some people will get through this, but not all. So people who get through this bit, let's put that as A, who I like what they've done here, I get them to do a 30-minute meeting. And in my case, it's with Peter or Kat, but it's with a senior team member. Now, if it's just you on your own, this senior team member could be a friend you like, It could be anyone on this call. I could get David to do this for me. It doesn't really matter who it is, but it's a senior team member. And the brief in this conversation is, have a conversation, and I want you to tell me, is this somebody you would like to work with who you think would bring value to the team? So I get Peter or Kate to do this for me at the moment. She's my head of my creative and head of sales. And I get them to transcribe their conversation. So just record it in Google Meet or do a video, a voice note on their phone or whatever it may well be to give me a transcription. So they're going to say, yes, I like this person, could spend time with them, would want to work with them, they'll be a good fit for us, or they won't. I then take the transcription and do a SWOT analysis on the person in ChatGPT. So this is assuming Peter says to me, yes, I really like this person, they'd be great, here's the transcription, I'd like to work with them if you think they're good. I then go and do a SWOT analysis in ChatGPT where I put in the transcription and say, please analyze speaker number 2, whoever it was that the person is, or George, and tell me what would they be their strengths, their weaknesses, and the opportunities and threats with regards to them working for Kingompreneur. If I like the outcome of that, in my case, they get to have an interview, a Rob interview. And then after that, somebody might get appointed. What I find with this process is that by the time they get to me, out of 20 people who's applied, there's normally only 2 people left. I find that we've got a really clear picture of who that human being is before I actually have a conversation with them. I also have taken out any of the, pardon my French, but the bitching and whining from my senior employees about, oh, this person doesn't do this and that person like blah, 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 blah. They can't whine about the person they recommended to join the team. Like it was partly their decision, so they've got ownership of it. And with all these multiple touch points, we've actually checked to see the quality of the person in multiple different ways at multiple different times. And you kind of get to see the consistency behind who they are as a human being. Now, the reality is sometimes we don't get anybody as far as step B. Or sometimes people don't get as far as step D, meeting me. And we go back to the start again of looking for the human being again. But what I find is that we find really, really high quality people who are ready to work hard and do great things by running this process that I think is relatively easy to do. All right, that is, David, my waffle for the week. I guess the question I've got for you is, at the moment, is what's holding you guys back from getting more employees to help you build your business? Maybe it would be more people to put more marketing content out there so you can find more customers, more salespeople. I don't know what the more instructors for Christoph. I don't know. But what's in your way for starting to do this for yourself? Oh, last thing, David. Nobody who's been appointed going through this process since I've lived in South Africa has taken me to the CCMA. You can almost filter them out in this process, the people who are most likely to. Interestingly, I've only been to the CCMA once, and it's where I just took CVs and letters and then went and interviewed the people myself, and I made a bad decision. So
I think I know it's holding me back in a lot of things, not just hiring people, but it's the fear of uncertainty of what to do and how to do it. And that in doing something without a plan will result in a bugger up. And that stops me from starting. I'd rather not start something than land up in a bugger up. But I know that, you know, on another tangent, people say, well, just start and then you iterate and perfect as you go. But what this process does with something as important as hiring people into the business, which are going to, like you say, well, like we said before, we're going to spend lots of time with them. They're super valuable to the business. You know, as an important process like this, you need a plan and you need to stick to that plan. And this gives us a very good outline of how, or detailed outline of how to get to the right people appointed in your business. What I think, sorry, Rob, where I think a lot of the problems start with all processes is if you skip steps. And especially in the sales process, which, you know, the sales and hiring process are actually very similar. And if you skip steps in the sales process, you end up with cancellations. And if you skip steps in this, which, you know, people don't even know half the steps that are available to us in this kind of thing, it's going to end up in more uncertainty. So the more steps that we have like this that are super valuable in evaluating the person, getting them accustomed or known by and to the team, will help us get more people that are sticky within the organization, that they don't just flake after a while.
Yeah, I think also, Rob, I like the idea, you know, give him some tasks. I think that can reveal a lot about them. You know, even, you know, the usual, like you said, is we check a CV, it looks good on a CV, then we choose from there and you interview the people. And some people are very good salespeople. They don't know how to sell them. But they really, you know, and, you know, we all human and, you know, thereby you make a mistake. And people, and what I found about these people, a lot of them is just talk. When it comes to the action, you know, they don't know what to do. And it's unfortunately, and that's how they get along, you know, all their lives. But, you know, what you mentioned there, give them a task as instead of, you know, looking at their CV. I think that can reveal, and the effort I put into that, that will reveal a lot. And I remember when going to the airlines, the application process, you know, was a lot different than any other interview. Is they would require you in an interview to give them stats on their business. You know, I think if someone has done research on your company, it shows they're quite interested, and I could tell you a lot about your business and things like that. Yeah, so I do agree that you have to look differently and eliminate a lot of these people you're not really gonna be interested in. Yes, I like the idea.
I do think to find, you know, there's world-class employees available to us in South Africa. I think we have to all understand that, but they're not necessarily as easy to find as we would like to have them to find. And that's why I think running adverts or like going out there advertising in a way for people the whole time is really important. Bearing in mind, we don't actually have to appoint, right? Just because you advertise them, it doesn't mean say you actually have to appoint somebody. And the process like this actually allows us as a business to kiss quite a lot of frogs quite time efficiently, in order to go and find the prince or the princess that we're after, the diamond in the rough, the world-class employees. And it's quite an efficient way of doing it in terms of just a process. In fact, the only really bit that I'm actually involved in is I check the tasks quickly at point A, and then I do the interview at point D. And the rest of it, other people do within the business. And so it makes it very, very time efficient from my side. And the other thing that I've noticed, and maybe this is just recently, is my best employees usually aren't qualified to do the job that I get them to do in the end. They normally don't have the formal training. Now, I know in some instances, if you're going to teach somebody to fly, you better be bloody qualified. But I find that, you know, in a, you know, Christoph might correct me, but in a flight school, teaching flying is one small element of the business as a whole. You know, there's the maintaining of the premises. There's so many other things that need doing.
We've got you know, different staff. You know, it's safety, quality, operational, also driver. You know, driving the students up and down. Cleaning. So there's a whole lot. It's just that like the instructors are just one facet of it. Yeah, and but there's some different opportunity. You know, job descriptions that doesn't necessarily require you for some qualification.
This is just a slight aside. I know, Francois, you're not in the aviation industry, but you have a plane. I think that as we advertise, people would find anything to do with aviation, if they're not an aviator, anything to do with aviation as a work-related opportunity, absolutely fascinating. And so if Francois is known as the fertilizer and seed flying salesman, and his plane, him and his planes everywhere, and you're going to be his administrator, just the opportunity to see and touch in that plane once a year and maybe go up in it every second year is kind of mind-blowing to most people. Christoph, you don't have one plane, you've got a whole flipping air force of them.
Two less, but yeah, more than one.
David just thanking the Lord that he's not doing a blinking aircraft insurance. Yeah, but you've got an air force. You've got an air force of planes, right? And the opportunity to be the driver or the cleaner or even the guy who weed eats and cuts the grass and be around planes the entire time actually can get us a higher quality of person because just because of the planes that they get to be around. It's more desirable, more interesting. We should really market off the back of it because we're not just marketing a groundsman opportunity to cut the grass and do whatever else. We're actually giving him the environment of an aviation business to do it in, and that's just much cooler than just being a guy who cuts the grass.
Yeah, we even was like even what you mentioned now is we take them all up for flight. So even our guy doing the garden has been up in the air, you know, everybody that works here. So we make sure they get that opportunity. And I think, and our garden guy has been here a couple of years. He's almost been fired a few times, but he sticks around because I think he likes the environment and he likes the aircraft. And actually, he's getting good at it. He's changing the tires and now has to clean them. So he's learned a skill, you know, which we just clean gardens and for somebody else, but he is doing something different. Yeah.
I've always been an insurance broker, and whenever I introduce myself to other insurance brokers, or bring people in my industry to where I work, type thing, and expose them to where we are, I always have to be reminded that because I'm in aviation, my job's much cooler than any other financial planner or insurance broker, and people recognize that. So yeah, same thing.
This is what it is to not be a loser.
Exactly.
We always knew you're cool, David.
Yes. That's why you're with us. Thank you. No, so but Joe, in all honesty, Rob's right. We need to market that, and especially when we're employing people, we say this is not a normal environment. You're not just going to be a salesperson, a driver, a ops manager, or anything of an accounting business. You're going to be in aviation, and there's a massive cool factor there.
Mm.
That and like I said before, the sales and the hiring process are very similar, and we need to employ the same PR or marketing message about aviation to the people we hire as we do to our customers.
But I think it's also with aviation, people with money, they tend to spend more money than they would, they would almost as if the rational is out of the door. It's like they would be very careful with money, but as soon as it comes to aviation, they're like a kid. They don't care what they spend, and that's something there that it just shows you what impact or effect aviation has got on some of these people. If you look at the amounts and if you think rationally about it, is it really worth it? But they still do it, and that's one of the factors we can use.
Definitely.
So I guess the question is, when do we start building our lists? Number one, just here. When do we start going and actually going, here's people that I meet? How many times have you been in a hotel or a restaurant or somewhere where you've bumped into somebody, a waiter or a waitress, and thought, do you know what? If I ever had a job for this person, I think I'd employ them. What happens if you decide to take that a step further? And that would be my challenge for you this week, is to start building your list, start building the people, and be brave with who you put on there. Maybe when Francois got 8 salespeople on the road, he'll need a very different person in his business to help him than what he has now. So be brave, even with the people you don't think you could afford now. It's fine, put them on the list. But equally, the guy who delivers the firewood, maybe there's an opportunity with him as well, in terms of what that is. It's very, very funny who's actually around us, who we just forget about by accident, just because we don't document who there is around us. And so that's my challenge for this week, is go and start building your list. Go and start building your list.
Love it. I'm going to do that.
Cool.
Rob,
That's a
you're
question.
on my list.
This thing that we doing with job colors. It's not like an employee, but it's like a partner. Is that also some kind of? Okay, can be classified almost as the list that you're building, getting people involved in your business? Is that the same
Yes.
kind of approach?
Big time.
100%.
Okay.
So on that list can go partners, employees, a dream of I suppose Jacques Cullis is a partner, isn't he now, in that project with you?
Ambassadors, brand ambassadors who you want representing your brand.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Jean, none of you know who this is. I've got a client called Jean Basson. He used to play 8th man for the Lions, and Jean went to Uffies. And I've been busy trying to get hold of AB de Villiers for quite a long time to come and talk at one of my Kingdompreneur events. And he is, as you can imagine, with AB de Villiers, and probably with Jacques as well, but incredibly hard to pin down and get hold of unless you know it. It just so happens that Jean went to Uffies and AB went to Uffies, and AB's 2 years older than him, and Jean's brother was best friends with AB all the way throughout school, and they still hang out and braai with each other now. And what's really incredible is when you put somebody like an AB de Villiers on your list, and then you start sharing your list with people, going, if there's ever an opportunity to meet or hang out with any of those people, it's incredible just how many people know people who they don't introduce you to because they're not aware how important that person is to you and why you'd like to meet them. And people are far more connected, especially in South Africa, that's such a small country and it's a big country, but it's a small population in some respects, a small connected population. You know, I'm always incredibly surprised about who knows who.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So on that note, Rob, we looking for next year's safety symposiums to bring in a huge name. And I went and I made a list of the biggest aviation YouTuber influencers. And then we started adding to that list. We've got Tom Cruise on that list. I've got Mr. Beast on that list. It's ridiculous, but
I like Mentor Pilot, you know.
Mentor Pilot, he's on the list, absolutely. There's that Mike Patey. There's Travis, what's his name as well. We've got the proper name. So we're going to next week send out emails to every single one of those people.
Tom Cruise.
Yeah. And so look, there's a way to get in touch with them. We can uncover, you know, they've got their business emails and stuff on YouTube and all around. So we're going that way. But we also don't realize that Tom Cruise, well, we know that Tom Cruise was here most of last year in South Africa, flying around filming MI8. And he stayed with Guy Leach. He stayed, well, I don't, this is recorded, but okay. So anyway, I'll have to edit that out. But anyway, he stayed with people we know in their lodges, and he flew with other people that we know. I also know the pilot that Mr. Beast was in the country last week. Oh, sorry, 3 weeks ago, at the end of September. And I know a pilot that flew Mr. Beast around. And so, like, I'm one degree of separation from these crazy, huge influencers that, yes, we can try and get to them through their normal channels, through their agencies and all those kinds of things. But I could also just as well ask this pilot who flew with them and say, hey, did you get his number? Maybe you can just ask him for me.
Mr. Beast is engaged to a girl who is from Camps Bay and went to Camps Bay High School.
Yeah. I think her name's Boyson, something Boyson. He met her here because they were going to go do a video in Antarctica. And the flight to Antarctica was delayed by a week because of weather and the conditions on that side. And so he had to stay here, and that's where he met her.
So how crazy is that you're that close?
Yeah. But literally like 1 degree of separation. The pilot that flew him in the helicopter like a couple of weeks ago, I could just ask him. You know what I mean? So we need to use this network. Not only is South Africa's connected network very small compared to the rest of the world, but aviation is even smaller. You know, it's a niche within a niche, and we can get to quite a few people with just asking people we already know very well. So yeah.
Wow. So I wonder who it is that Christophe and Francois and JJ and Eugene and everybody else and Franz needs to go and put on their list and find ways of accessing. I think the thing, David, that's the problem with all of this is that when we advertise, we feel obliged to a point. And when we contact people to try and get Tom Cruise, we have one of two mindsets: is either it won't work, so why bother? Or we're actually scared of what if he says yes?
Yeah.
Flip.
Yeah. That was the thing that we were trying to explain it to the people, because we're going to combine the safety symposiums with another event next year. It's all hush hush and it's going to happen. But when we were explaining this is what we want to do, they were like, "Oh, but what if he says yes? And now we have to stick to this budget." I was like, if he says yes, then we say, okay, cool. Then we go and find the money. And if we can't find the money, then we just say, sorry, Tom, like, you know, not this time, next time. You know, that's what's the worst that can happen.
So a top tip that I've found worked in the past. So with Elements, I used to coach a lot of, in kayaking terms, a lot of very rich people in kayaking. Very, very, very rich people in kayaking. what I found to be true is that when they were, regardless of their level of affluence, when they were just stepping into kayaking and they were a newbie, the $25 million a year salary that they were on with a bonus that was equally the same size, all of that became immaterial, and they just wanted to join the kayaking club, as it were. And you could get them to do almost anything. Would you come and open up this for me? Oh, I'd love to. Do I get to go? Whereabouts are we going to paddle a kayak afterwards? I say, oh, we're going to go here. Oh, fantastic. Yes. And I would rather suspect in aviation that there is a lot of affluent people entering the industry just to get a private pilot's license because they're keen to learn to fly, who, like maybe like an Adrian Gore, for instance, just as a example, who actually would probably be open to doing stuff just because he gets to hang out in the aviation world more because it's his latest itch to scratch, passion, enthusiasm, hobby, so on and so forth. And so maybe there's even more opportunity. I wonder who's teaching who in all the flight schools would be a question.
I saw David Witt was learning to fly there by Dave. David, is it right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, Dave Nadia taught, because I saw on the David Witt's social media, I was posting all his flying lessons, and it looked like a Rhino Park.
Is it?
Yeah,
Well, there you go.
yeah. Not that he's that big, but he's quite, you know.
No, but I mean,
yeah,
that's-
they must, yeah, they come to normal schools. You know, I don't think there's flight schools that caters for celebrities. So they normally come to the quiet, smaller schools. I think it gives you a better opportunity where they don't need to entertain too many people.
They've got to go somewhere for sure.
That's it. That's it. And this is why this list becomes so important. Who are all the school owners and instructors who, like David knows, for instance, who he can just, you know, schmooze with and find out the secret student that they've got that they're not supposed to tell anybody about, but they're willing to let David know. That is gold in terms of what we're looking for here. So, yeah, that's it from me this week. That's all that was on my mind. But I do think that we should all go and make goals to employ more people. I think we've kind of got a responsibility to, in a country that struggles to employ, maybe we could be the difference.
For real. Love it, Rob.
Thank you. Maybe even this, stupid ruling that's just happened, maybe even that would be different if there was more employees who were going to lose jobs because of it. It would create more leverage.
Anything's possible. There's enough jobs that are being lost because of it, but you're right. If there were more, we'd have more leverage for sure. All right. Very nice, Rob. Thank you very much.
No worries.
I think we're gonna sign off and go and all make $1 million today. Who's with me?
We'll spend $1 million today. I don't want to make it.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay.
Cool. God bless, folks.
God bless.
You too, have a good week.
You too, man.
Thank you.
Cheers, Christoph.
Cheers, eh?
Thanks, everybody. Keep well.
Ciao, Francois.
I'm going to go cough myself today. David.
Stand by. I'm just going to stop recording.
Oh, yeah.